These are things that you wouldn't necessarily think about for a beach vacation in Mexico, but if known, these are things that might alter your experience of living in Mexico. These are things mostly based on my own experience and necessitate speaking in generalities. Of course, there are every kind of people in Mexico, like every other country. Number 1, the prevalence and strength of the belief and spirituality in Mexican people. From weekly parades, fireworks, and festivals to legendary stories like the Chupacabra and the Lady of the Lake, and big festivals, big events like the Day of the Dead. Many Mexicans believe in the spirituality and folklore and pass it on to future generations, and it affects many areas of their lives. Of course, some legends like Chupacabra and the Lady of the Lake might be held by some people as a little less sacred and spiritual than big events like the celebration of the departed at Dia de los Muertos. Nevertheless, Mexico is full of colorful traditions, and I think it's lovely. To me, this enriches the culture and understanding of the world, both seen and unseen, and deepens the beauty and meaning around me, and I love it. Number 2, not everyone is welcoming to foreigners in Mexico. I thought a little bit about it before coming to Mexico, but I had had so many good experiences here on vacations with such warm welcomes from all the Mexicans that I met that I didn't really give it that much thought. But there have been so many changes in the last few years and so many new immigrants to Mexico. I think things were bound to change sooner or later, at least a little bit. And there have been so many new residents, new foreigners living in some parts of Mexico that it's changed the economy and the housing for the people who live there. There's a notorious example of foreigners behaving badly in Mexico that I learned about soon after I arrived here. There's a restaurant in Puerto Vallarta that's very popular and famous, and it's been there for over 30 years. Well, a foreign couple bought a property close by and started complaining about the noise from the restaurant. The music they were playing was too loud for the couple's preferences. And sooner or later, apparently, the couple filed a lawsuit and threatened to close the restaurant down. This is the kind of thing that prevents foreigners from being welcome in a new country. Foreigners behaving badly and acting entitled obviously is a thing that shouldn't happen. It has soured the feelings of some Mexicans about foreigners living in their country. Maybe I'm just really sensitive to this, or maybe because I'm online making videos, but I have witnessed some hostility to foreigners online. And it's interesting to note that I've never experienced any of that in person. Everything in person has been warm and welcoming, but sometimes online it brings out their worst behavior. I have gotten some hostile comments about my videos and about foreigners being here in general. This is just something to consider if you're thinking about moving to Mexico. By no means is it the majority. The majority seems to be welcoming and very friendly. It's just occasionally online I've seen a few bad apples. Number 3, it's harder than I thought to learn a new language at my advanced age. Having lived a big chunk of my life in California, I've known a lot of Spanish-speaking people. And though I picked up a few words here and there, I never really put an effort in to learn the language. Let me just say that if you think you're going to pick up the language by just being here, like through osmosis, if you're anything like me, that's not going to happen so easily. Effort and a daily practice are necessary. But luckily for me, I've never met a Mexican here who has been unkind or not patient. And so they really help by being around you and forcing you to use what you know. Luckily, there are many resources to help you learn Spanish, and if you're lucky enough to be surrounded by Mexican people, you'll learn it even faster with immersion. It's a very good experience and it keeps your brain fresh. My big boy, you got too big? It's my big Vigo. Here comes the thunder and lightning. It's okay, Ollie, don't worry. Everything's all right. Number 4, money is a little bit different in Mexico. In case you didn't already know, the US has made it very easy to pay for everything with a card, a debit card or a credit card. For better or worse, you can pay for a soda at the market. You can pay, Jesus. You can even pay for your rent and utilities with a card. Mexico currently isn't set up that way in many areas. It's okay, girl. My girl Ollie came to see me because of that crap of thunder was so loud. I'm sorry, Ollie. It's okay. Don't hide in there. It's all right, girl. It's okay. She's hiding in the fireplace. It's okay, girl. It's all right. Okay, he's all right. We're okay. Oh, she's shaking. I had to go put Ollie in her favorite hiding spot because that was a really loud crack of thunder and it really got her scared. So she's in her little snug spot. And I don't know what else I can do for her when she's so scared like that. If you have any ideas about how to comfort a dog during a lightning thunderstorm, please let me know. Anyway, like I was saying, in Mexico, money's a little different. Not everything is accessible with your bank card or your credit card. Although if you're in Cancun or Puerto Vallarta, I would imagine you could go out to dinner and in many instances use a card. But in more rural areas or small towns, it might not be so easy. So come prepared to pay with cash. And also small bills and exact change are very welcome here too. I think it's really important to have redundancy when it comes to money. And so I've set myself up with 3 different US bank accounts, each with a credit card and a debit card. And that way I can separate them into packs of 2. And one's a credit card and one's a debit card. And I just leave some of them at home and I bring some of the other ones. That way if there's any loss or theft or technical difficulties, I'll have a backup. And I recommend doing that. The only thing I regret is that I did not set up a Charles Schwab account, which I've heard over and over is a bank that will reimburse you for your ATM fees, which can really add up over months. So if you're thinking about getting a new bank account, everybody recommends Charles Schwab. And I might still do that myself too. But no matter which bank you use, make sure there are no foreign transaction fees from your own bank, at least. And let them know that you'll be in Mexico so they don't shut down your account out of caution. I think most of the thunder has passed us, and it's fortuitous that I put this last number 5 at the end right now, because number 5 is the weather in Mexico is not to be taken lightly. Everybody knows Mexico has a wonderful climate, and that's a big draw for everybody from retirees to beach bums. Viejista. And when I was packing to come to Mexico in my car, there was limited room, of course, and I thought, do I really need to take a winter coat and rain boots? Now I'm really glad I did. My first surprise was on the Pacific coast when we got here in April. I knew it would be warm, but Mexico had a heat wave this spring that I think broke some records. And I thought it was April. Do I really need air conditioning? And I kind of just assumed I'd have it, but we didn't. So we spent the whole first month avoiding the sun on the Pacific coast of Mexico. It was scorching hot. And I tried to keep Vigo cool the whole time, and he developed some skin issues because I think the heat and humidity was to blame. Spring, summer, and on the coast, that's no joke. And then I learned what I didn't know before, and that is that many people consider April and May to be the most challenging weather months in Mexico. When I used to read about different parts of Mexico before I came, of course I read about the Central Highlands and I read that it was cooler here in the mountains. Little did I know I'd spend the coldest summer of my life here in these mountains. I spent a big chunk of my life in Northern California, and Northern California is cooler than Southern California, especially at night. It really cools down nicely. So I guess in my mind I was thinking about temperature variability in the same kind of way, but it's not. Up here in the mountains, the elevation creates a whole different climate, and don't get me wrong, I love it. I think it's beautiful and it's so dramatic. But I'm so glad now that I brought some warm clothes because I haven't worn shorts or a sundress or flip-flops in 2 months. So if you're someone who is looking to avoid heat at all costs, this is a great location. The rainy season in central Mexico is nothing to trifle with. In California, we say the winter is the rainy season, but there we're lucky to get rain once or twice a month. Here, the weather is both dramatic and predictable. There may be some sun in the morning, and then clouds accumulate over the hills, and by mid-afternoon it usually rains. On really dramatic days, it's a downpour with crackling thunder and brilliant lightning. I've never heard anything like the thunder here before. Often our electricity goes out for short periods. Usually it goes back on within an hour or so. I've come to love this weather. Me, someone who is emotionally and psychologically dependent on daily sun, but I'm happier now in this different lifestyle and not just keeping my head above water. And that doesn't depend on the sunshine anymore. Well, if you've made it to the end of this video, I want to say thanks for watching and tell you one of the biggest things I wish I knew before I moved to Mexico. It's not on the list. The thing I wish I knew is how happy I'd be making this radical lifestyle change and moving to Mexico. If I had known how satisfying it would feel to have my time to myself in this beautiful country, I might have made the move a couple of years ago. I don't know. But on the other hand, last year I worked really hard and saved a whole bunch of money, so maybe it was just meant to be that way. Of course, the first week of moving was difficult, getting rid of all of your things, crossing the border, traveling. It was a little stressful, but overall, I'm so happy with this change, and that's the biggest thing I wish I had known.